Welcome to the Coda podcast. I am Roo from Roo Films, and in this episode, I'll be speaking with Adam Wing from Adam Wing Films. Adam's relaxed and discreet approach to wedding filmmaking was a breath of fresh air for the industry. His fantastic YouTube channel showcases in-depth behind-the-scenes videos, allowing viewers to follow him through an entire wedding day and see his process in action. With a passion for sharing knowledge and insights, Adam has built a large and engaging following, with many of today's wedding filmmakers crediting him as providing the stepping stones for them to build their wedding filmmaking businesses. In this episode, we talk through how prioritising his couple's experience of their wedding day, rather than the technicalities of filmmaking, has allowed him to build a thriving business, and also the pitfalls of the current educational trend of pushing wedding filmmakers to chase the elusive luxury wedding film market. Another episode of the podcast, and tonight we are with Adam Wing, our Northwest TWIA champion. How are you doing, mate?
I'm very well, thank you. Thanks for that little intro.
No problem. Congratulations, mate. Second year on the row. Well done. How are you feeling about that?
I'm excited. Yeah, it's really nice. It's the Northwest region is so hard. I know there's some good talent across the board, but like our region has always been difficult. There's always been loads of entrants. Yeah. And I'm up against like my mates as well. So it's like every year, me and James Tracy and like Joss who came second. It's so tough. So it was really cool. And it's nice to be there with everyone and cheering each other on. And I'm excited to go to London this time because I missed out last year.
You did, didn't you, mate?
My baby was born, so I didn't get to go. Which actually, I was glad about it when you won it because I was like, oh well, like if I'd have won, I'd have been gutted. So when I saw your name, I was like, it's not too bad. I've not missed.
And you got the highly commended as well, so that felt good. Like
yeah,
you won something.
That would have been nice, but I mean, my baby came first, I guess. I don't think
now
it's our second child, so I was like, yeah, if I make it, it'd be fine. Jade was like, you're not going to London, so
no, it just isn't happening. Because was it? So you got two kids now. Is it a girl and a boy you've got now?
3-year-old girl, 10-month-old boy now. Yeah. So he was like 2 days old, I think, when TWIA happened, because I was sat in the dark with a bottle at like 10:30 at night.
Bottle of milk, by the way, this is, right?
Yeah, feeding him a bottle. Yeah, feeding him a bottle of milk. Drowning my sorrows. And I was refreshing my Instagram like a madman, and then someone tagged me in something. I was like, oh. Highly commended. So I was buzzing. So I'm excited to be able to come this time. So it'll be good. Win all these. Yeah. It's a great do. So it's good.
I hadn't planned to talk about this, but you brought it up about a parent with two kids and two very young kids.
Yeah.
Has becoming a parent changed your approach to your business at all?
Yeah. Of course it has. Yeah, massively. And this is kind of where I'm going at over the next 18 months because the goalposts just keep moving all the time. When we had our first, it changes your whole life upside down, and I've had to like your priorities. I mean, you've got kids, haven't you? So
yeah, two as well.
Your priorities change, obviously. But I think you kind of underestimate. Like, I know I'm not going to get as much editing time in, but then when it actually happens, it's a real adjustment, and took a while to get kind of the work-life balance back on track, and then we had another one, and then it all just goes out the window again. And then my oldest will be starting school in next September, so kind of my plan at the minute is to try and look towards 2026 bookings and beyond, and maybe try and do less weekends and stuff, and travel less. And so I'm kind of, I mean, I go back and forth all the time and contradict myself a lot, but I'm generally trying to do less abroad, less far away, less weekends, less summer, because when she starts school I just won't see her, so I'm kind of trying to project for that. But yeah, so at the minute, like, the editing time's really tricky, but then when she starts school and we're just down to the one again, it'll get a bit easier, and then when he starts school I'll have a load of time back. So it's just constantly changing and just trying to keep up with it. But yeah.
And the weird thing is with our job, we almost have to be almost 2 years ahead in our thinking as well, because things we change now can't really come into effect until 2 years, can they? Because we're all
that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, so that's my plan at the minute. She's going to start school next September, so it'll be the following summer and beyond, 2026 and beyond, that it will be affecting. And it'd just be nice to have a bit more time at home with her as well. Once she's because at the minute it's brilliant because I see him in the week, and obviously I'm editing during the week, but I get to be at home and I get to come down for an hour and play with him and watch him grow up and stuff. When she starts school, that'll change, I guess. So I'm trying to project for that, um, and I've just gotten really comfortable with like I know where I'm at in the industry in the market, and I'm happy with where I'm at, and I can kind of pick and choose and price myself and
Yeah.
change where I'm working and how I'm working and what I'm charging and da da da. Yeah. So
That this is like a super interesting topic. I want to come back to this. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions that are going to feed into this. So at the moment, how many weddings are you doing each year?
35 is the aim ish, 30 to 35.
And what are your what are the packages that you deliver, like the deliverables and also the prices?
Ceremony speeches are the standard and the highlights film. So the ceremony and speech multicams like deliver those kind of in full. And then a highlights film, which is like 5 minutes. And then I do the 15 to 20 minute sort of feature one. I, other extras and stuff that I offer as well. But generally, it's the highlights package is like the base.
Yeah.
The highlights film, ceremony speeches, that's the base. And then if they want to add the feature, that's good. A lot of people, like most people, do that. And then I've got the little Instagram teasers and raw footage and bits like that occasionally. But generally, the average because the feature one is 3,000, so that's kind of that's the average price point because most people book that.
Yeah.
Occasionally, they just book the highlights, or sometimes they go way beyond feature. They get second shoot. They get, but generally speaking, it's about 3K average. So yeah, then the trick is to try and balance that with how many I'm shooting and the
Yeah.
VAT threshold and all that sort of stuff. So.
Because are you VAT registered, or do you try and just tickle
No,
it
so I
like a
try
lot
and
of us
stay
do?
underneath it. Yeah, so I'll
Yeah.
take so many at the higher, and this is kind of because I've got to that point, and I do like doing numbers. So like 30 weddings suits me for various reasons. Um, so and obviously like quick maths, 3 times 30 is too much. So at that point, I'm now coming back a bit in order to be able to dictate when I want to work and where and stuff. So
If people are just booking the highlight package, how much does that
uh,
cost?
two and a half, twenty
Two and a
five
half,
hundred.
yeah.
Yeah.
And have you? Because yeah, we're very similar pricing, and I've found if people book the highlight package, if I message them just before the wedding or even just after, like 100% of the time they upgrade. Do you find the same thing?
Yeah, yeah. So I mentioned like we always speak a few weeks before, and I always like re-mention it. I'm like, all right, so you've got this and you've got this package and this is what you're getting, and try and mention the feature one as well, and it just sits with them then. And I'm like, yeah, if you decide after the wedding, like just let us know. No, no rush. No, it's all good. And because you just know that afterwards, the day after, they're gonna go,
Yeah,
it was so good. Should we? So it happens a lot, and I'm kind of that's cool because it's extra cash
yeah,
and I like editing the feature. I think that's the like a highlights one's great for just a short, but I really love the feature films. I think that's the full thing, and how many times you do a wedding where you just deliver a highlights film and you're like, oh man, they're missing out on like the
yeah,
full, and that's they're like my real kind of backwards to most people. I put loads of effort into the feature, and then I think that is the ultimate like you've experience. And then the highlights kind of the byproduct of that sort of thing, rather than
yeah.
making my highlights mustard for social media and then just kind of bashing out the feature.
I find it. I don't know if you're the same. If I'm just doing a highlight, sometimes you're looking at all the content. You're like, I don't even know where to start. Whereas if I've done a
Yeah,
feature,
yeah,
like I'm literally putting everything in there, and it's quite straightforward because it's quite chronological and it's easy. So when it comes to the highlight, I can then just cherry pick good bits and
yeah.
create
Did you know
create
what? That's
what?
probably why I like it because it's so structured and easier to just get started on. But
Yeah,
I like that. I like the chronologicalness of it as well. And I just
yeah,
think like when you've got the full thing and you kind of allow yourself to include like longer sequences and more like audio and stuff and like outtakes and things and little transition things that you don't have time to in a highlight film necessarily, or you think you don't have time to because you're tempted to just condense it all down. But yeah, I just think that the longer ones are the one they should have. So I wouldn't say I hard sell it, but if I just mention it 9 times out of 10 afterwards, they go, "Oh, is it still all right to upgrade?" Because we've had a bit of and like they might have had a bit of cash from. presents and stuff afterwards.
Yeah.
So yeah, so I've had a few recently, which is great, but I've also got enough editing to do at the minute, and
Yeah,
they've
that's
all.
the
So like with my pilot at the minute, I'm like, oh great, them two are highlight that they're a bit. They won't take as long, so I'm kind of projecting how long it's gonna. And then I get a message the next day. Hey, we're gonna add on the other one. I'm like, oh yeah, okay.
God damn it. Not another £500.
I know. First
But
world problems.
when I've had it when they've done that, they've asked for an upgrade after I've actually already edited the highlight film, and then I've purposely made that highlight film a bit longer just to fit more stuff in. I'm like, oh no, I've used everything. I'm actually basically gonna have to just give them a worse version of their highlight film as a longer
Yeah,
film.
and occasionally it does suit the wedding to have the shorter one. I think
Yes,
like some weddings aren't as lively or a shorter time like schedule and stuff
like the winter
that are
weddings now.
suited. Yeah, that are suited to the shorter one, and you can actually make a really good short one or one that you've had to drag out because you've promised them a 15-minute or whatever. And I wouldn't like to really compromise on the quality
Yeah,
as such, but I mean, generally you can always make it work. But like, I've got the one I'm shooting on Saturday. I'm not filming the ceremony, so I said to them straight off the bat, like you should probably get a highlights. So I'll hopefully they'll stick with that.
no
Uh,
way. So how come you're not filming the ceremony? Is it like a
the
religious thing that you can't be
yeah
in there?
no the church or the vicar is like the copywriting usual kind of copywriting thing that happens sometimes. So I think there's an extra fee if they want it filmed, and then they didn't want to pay that.
Right.
So when she got in touch, I was like, well, I'll do you a highlights package. And we'll because I think it'll suit that.
Yeah.
And I'll sneak a mic on the groom and I'll record it, audio wise,
Yeah.
and I'll just sit at the back and you because she was like, we're not bothered about the ceremony. We just want a nice video, so we still want it. And is it gonna work? So I was like, yeah, sure. So I'm looking forward to it. So
A lot of
just
drone
gonna,
shots of that church.
mate, I'll be doing my fantasy football in the back pew.
Yeah. But you could, when I've had moments like that, when I've not been allowed in the church, I've then asked the couples to do like personal vows themselves and record it
Yeah,
separately.
yeah.
And that's actually better than the ceremony for a film because you've got
Yeah.
complete control.
Yeah, so I suggested that they didn't want to go for it,
Oh
but
no.
that again,
Okay.
that's fine. So I'm filming everything up until the point she goes in, and then I'm filming everything from when they come out, confetti and stuff. So, and I'm
Yeah.
gonna record. I've said, I'll just stick a mic on the groom and get your vows, and I might be able to use that. And she was like, oh yeah, that's really cool, thanks.
I could definitely make a highlight film without a ceremony for sure.
Oh
100%. Yeah.
yeah, no problem. So it's quite exciting, really, but it does kind of lean into a smaller edit, I guess, because I've not then got that to because I use a good chunk of the ceremony in the features normally. Like that'll
Yeah.
take up 4 or 5 minutes of the film. So
So your structure, can we go into your structure of your feature film? So I'm always interested in how people lay this out. Are you
I'm
similar
getting
to
rude.
me?
This is I love about your
How's it
podcast
feel?
because you're just like more detail, question, and I love it. This is why I love listening to yours.
I'm sorry, man. I'm sorry that you have to be on the end of the
No,
grilling,
please.
but it's just what I do. Yeah. So, is it a kind of structure where you're doing like a kind of a 3-song structure to your feature film? Is that how it kind of works?
Four.
4. Okay. So break it down for me. How's that work then? So, what's your first section? You're doing your preps. Is that like a whole song kind of
Yeah.
preps?
So I mean generally four. I have so it's the morning. There'll be the bride and groom, like bride prep, maybe groom prep as well. People arriving, scenery stuff, pre-ceremony stuff, and a song. And then, typically like if I were the bride speech or a reading or something at the start, and then the ceremony song, the drinks reception song, the evening, and a song. So there's the 4 sections and a
Right.
song for each, and then like sound bites for each and stuff.
And the ceremony section, do you have B-roll over that, or does that kind of play out as long kind of sections of the ceremony?
So the ceremony bit is always like the groom stood at the front, and then the procession, like the bridesmaids coming in and the bride coming in, and then the audio underneath that will be the vows and the ring exchanges or whatever. So the kind of B-roll, if you will, is I'm playing the vows or the ring exchanges, and the footage is
Yeah.
everyone walking in, and then I'll like cut that someone will walk in, then I'll cut back to the vows, and then someone else will walk in and cut back. If that makes sense. So
Right. So
that's
you
kind
showing
of
every bridesmaid pretty much.
yeah.
Yeah.
For the feature, everyone that's walking in, because
They
I
want to
think
see them.
they'll want to see that. I think this is something that I was reminded if I can just like compliment you on Coda quickly because obviously I went to that a few weeks ago and it was really timely in at this point in the year because I was kind of getting into the like I've done like so many weddings now this year and you kind of just get into without meaning to you just kind of get into that like mindset of right, I know what I want and you kind of get stuck in your ways a little bit. So Coda and Lawson's and Bronte in particular being like the couples just want to see their guests. They just want to see the
Yeah.
real moments. Like they don't particularly, and it's stuff like. This is my philosophy also that I've. That's the approach I've always had, and that's the mindset I have. It's the as much about the guests for them, as I always say to my couples, like you'd rather see your guests having a good time than watching yourself kissing in a field in
Of
slow mo for
course.
30 seconds.
Yeah.
Um, so like I know this, but then just to hear it at the talk and Bronte's example and the Lawson's talking about it, I was like, oh, yeah, fuck yeah. Like you are guilty of forgetting sometimes. So my
Yeah.
next couple of weddings after Coda really benefited. So it's the same mindset. It's like, yeah, of course I want to show every single bridesmaid coming down because the bride would probably rather see that than watch herself coming down the aisle because
Yeah.
I think most people are just like, it's weird watching myself on screen. I'd rather see my guests.
Yeah, and that is it's so true, and it's exactly the thought process I've been going through. And again, at Coda, it was reinforced in my mind. I was like, my God, just
Yeah.
sometimes you think, how have I not become? I say cynical is too strong a word, but maybe become numb to what I'm actually producing here sometimes. And it's we are creating a document of that day, and it's so important that we get in our head, we see all these glamorous wedding films where it's the couple shots become like the feature of them, don't they?
Yeah.
But for
Yeah.
me, on my wedding day, that would be the least interesting thing to me. What would be interesting to me would be the bits I didn't notice on the day. Like for the bride, for example, she's not going to, like she won't see her bridesmaids walking down that aisle until she sees the film. And it's all those bits that I'd missed is what I'd want to see. And are you getting married? Is it next year you get married?
Yeah, and next October, yeah.
Yeah, so you're
Yeah.
going to be the other end of it, and you've booked the Lawsons, right, to film your wedding.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
what's gonna be important for you from your wedding film?
But this is it. And like when I spoke to them since booking them, I was just like, because they're mates anyway. And I was like, guys, I just want, like, I know you'll nail it. I just want you to come and have a good time. Like,
You
have a
got both of
drink,
them.
get involved. Yeah.
Yes, the,
Um,
the full duo. I love
just
it.
yeah. So I was just like, just your guests, like, and all our suppliers, because obviously, like, I know loads of good suppliers, friends that we've hired all of our mates. So I just everyone's involved and staying for dinner and staying over and stuff. So it's like I just want you to have a good time. And yeah, it'll be the same. Like obviously there's moments like the kind of box ticking stuff, and we'll be doing some pictures, just the two of us, and it'd be nice to get some portraits. I get all that, but I'm the same. Just want to see my guests. I think yeah, it'll be interesting once to see it back to then go, yeah, this is really like
Yeah,
having watched my own film back. This is what I love about it, and then I'll probably take from that. But at the minute, all I can imagine I'll want to see is my guests and the day and everyone having a
yeah,
good time, because that's kind of the mindset for me and me and my partner, and I imagine most couples is we're spending all this money on a big day, we're putting on food, we're putting on like it's for everyone else. It's not you're not doing it for you two specifically. You want like when we've been planning it. I just want everyone to have a good time. I just want it to
yeah,
be well catered, well looked after. I just want everyone to enjoy it. And just it's such a surreal thing to have everyone that you know from all your walks of life in the same room together.
yeah.
It's like like the Avengers movies where you've got like all the characters from all the different movies all in one, and like when the first time I saw Avengers and all the characters are together like in the cinema, I was like, wow, this is wild. And that's kind of what your wedding day's like, I think.
Wedding days are like the Avenger movies. Who knew?
Yes, and that's the brief. I said to them, if you can make it like the Marvel Cinematic Universe,
If
No,
anyone
but
can, it'll be the Lawsons.
yeah, but no, it's like I've my auntie and Jade's nan and my mate and like what I really hope to see and be interested to see is if like my mate is chatting to Jade's mum or grandma and like they find something in common and they end up having a laugh together and meeting someone that because like all your people and you go, oh, do you know what, my mate from work would really get on with your sister, and
Yeah.
then to then have them all come together and see that potentially play out on your video would that's cool.
That like,
um
literally that sings to me. That does, because my whole life I feel like I'm a matchmaker randomly for people. Like, do you know when I meet people throughout life, I'm thinking, oh, they'd be great with them, and like getting them together. And like,
yeah
I've got a few different friend groups. I think that kind of I've merged together over the years, and I've
yeah
been to
yeah
two weddings where mates have been best men for each other, but people that I've got together and they've ended up being best mates for
nice
best
yeah
men for each other. And like,
you're like the Mr. Party orchestrator guy though. You get things together, don't you? And maybe I love hosting. I like hosting at home. Like I like having people around cooking for them and stuff. So maybe it's that. But I just think that I know I like all of my mates and I know everyone in my life and I like that person and I like that person and to then have them come together and be all in the same room like that happens once or twice in your life, doesn't it? So
yeah.
that's the kind of we want that to be captured.
And to
And
have
that's
footage of those people have like having an awesome time at your day, that would be incredible to have, wouldn't it, to look on?
yeah, and then obviously having kids, it's like, I want them to be able to grow up and then look back on it. Like how could like what you said at Coda, how cool would it be to see footage of your parents, your grandparents in HD because that's
Yeah,
the benefit that future generations, the quality of it, like to be able to see it crisp and clear and hear the voices of your family when they were young and look back on it in 20 years and hopefully, you know,
yeah. And
it'll,
your kids are going to have that. They're going to have that for
yeah,
sure. Like,
yeah. So, and like that, I mean, that's just me, but I would imagine most couples in the UK and kind of my target audience have the same mindset. So,
yeah.
yeah,
But also, I think as our businesses, we're in this job, we're in a wonderful position where we can target our business to the kind of people that we are. Like
yeah,
that's what I do with my
yeah,
business.
yeah.
I want to attract the same people as me, and I think I don't know if you feel the same as this, but a lot of the education in wedding filmmaking is almost kind of aiming towards the high end, as in getting these kind of luxury weddings. It's a case of just working less, charging more, shooting these high end
Mm,
luxury weddings, which must account for what 2% of the wedding market.
yeah.
Where the real money and the real business to be made is kind of in the more middle market, where I kind of sit and you sit with your kind of pricing as well. But also that's where the kind of the people that I really kind of click with sit as well, like
Yeah,
people like me.
yeah,
And what
yeah.
do you feel like that?
It's amazing. Like, I'm so glad you bring this up because I'm like really passionate about this. At the in the sort of in the last year, I've realized that this is kind of what I want to be talking about. 'Cause I've had a YouTube channel for a few years, and I've always shared like educational stuff and my experiences and things. But I've realized as I've grown my business that I've got to I'm not saying that we're at a sort of ceiling, but if I was to then push, like you say, the advice is always charge more, shoot less, charge more, shoot less. Everyone needs to be trying to push prices to the, I hate that term luxury market, but the that that kind of price point. Um, and it's just if I was to go beyond what I am now, I I might be wrong, but from my experience, it would be like rebranding everything, repackaging everything, like changing the whole approach, and you're targeting a different group of people. And like you say, it's just not necessarily the kind of group of people that I want to work for. I like the people that I work for at the minute. And in every price point, there's awesome people,
Yeah,
and not so awesome people. Um, but I just know that the price I'm at now and where I'm sat, I can work in certain venues and certain areas for just really nice people that like want having a nice wedding and want to pay the right price for something good.
yeah.
But also you're dead involved and they bring you in and you welcome you and um, yeah, I just like I'm more than happy there. And like you say, the to get to that point, there's like really tangible steps that you can do to build to that point, and then it is a really good like business model, and the price is good. And it, like I've got my course, and I've there's like dozens of examples of people that I've met that have started out that have found me online or gone through my course, and they're now like peers who are also because this for me was I started charging decent money, and I work for myself. I don't have to have a real job in inverted commas and stuff. And it's provided this life that I've got. I met Jade through weddings. I've got my kids now. We've got a nice house, and like I just feel like it's such a cheat code to life because it's such an enjoyable job. The wedding days are brilliant. Like I love it, and to then be able to see other like share kind of my experiences that kind of worked for me and then see them work for other people to then have the same success. And I've had conversations one the other night with a mate of mine who was like, it's crazy. Like I've been doing this 18 months and I'm charging like I'm at 2 grand and I'm booked out for next year and like I'm earning way more than my old job. And
Yeah,
he's got two young kids as well. And it's just like this is wild. Like how are we getting away with this?
yeah,
Do you know, it's like a cheat code. Like it's crazy. It's like, yeah, this is kind of it's not to be, sniffed at, like or looked down at. Do you know what I mean?
yeah. And
Because
there is a
it's
kind of
not.
snobbery in the industry to a certain extent, isn't there?
Yeah, and
About
it's this isn't the kind of the place where you go. You just need to get to there, and that's it. Like everyone doesn't think they've made it unless they go as high in luxury as possible.
mm,
But for me, like the success is just finding where you want to be, charging what you want to charge, doing how many you want, and just having a nice life from it. And
yeah,
you know, just like I'm kind of happy with where I'm at, and that's successful because I've got a nice balance and I enjoy it. And done. There's people that are charging 10 grand a wedding, 15 grand a wedding that have periods of like, I've not got any bookings and I'm
yeah.
struggling for next year and I hate it and I'm always away from my missus and so it's not necessarily success, if you will.
No,
But the only advice that you see online is like that's where you need to be.
yeah, and it's not. I don't think it's healthy at all because if we all went, if we, the harsh truth is, if we all went for that market, there wouldn't be enough of that market to go around.
Yeah,
There's not enough of those weddings that are going around,
yeah. And
and
what you probably find this chatting to loads of videographers, like interviewing them, is that the more there are, they're all fighting over the same gig. So there's like
yeah,
a certain cluster of weddings that are happening each year that are through the big planners or the big budgets, and there's like the same five guys are competing every time for the same gigs, sort of thing.
that'd be horrible to live your life like that because I'm quite. I imagine you're the same. I can predict. I know at least 18 months out what I've got for the year,
Yeah,
and that it's very secure, predictable income. And I imagine if you're doing the higher end market where you're shooting these less weddings, I mean, you lose one of those, for example, if there's a cancellation,
yeah,
and that's a massive chunk of your salary. If you're
uh-huh.
only shooting 10 weddings, for example, like
Yeah,
I physically couldn't do it as the sole income for my family. I couldn't take that kind of gamble.
yeah, same. Yeah, and I wouldn't want to. But there will be some people that are kind of at that price point and living by the seat of the pants and sticking to their guns with it. But at the same time, like there'll be those. I think Philip White might have touched on this when you interviewed him. Like, yes, they can charge that much, but if they're struggling, they could always just go down the local venue and
Yeah,
do a couple. Like, there's nothing stopping you doing one for a couple of grand on
yeah.
a slow weekend if you wanted to. So,
Of course
and
they
that's what I
do.
love.
Of course they
Do you know
do
what I mean?
that.
They won't talk about it, but they will. Because like you're not going to turn down money when you've got nothing in for the next 6 months, are you? So,
Exactly.
and I get the whole like if you take those, then you lose. You're losing. And one comes in last minute, a big one. You've lost that weekend, and you've got to take that risk element. But it's a lot easier to take those risks if you've already got like either your next year's booked out and you know where you're at, or you've got money in the bank and it's just not for me. Yeah,
Yeah.
and I think we're aligned in that. I like to know where I'm at for the next few months, and I like to go to quite a lot of weddings as well. So
Yeah.
it suits me. But it's just like you say, there's not much. like there's not much noise about it, or not many people speaking about the alternative, which is to just charge us good money and keep plugging away and doing
Yeah.
So if
Sitting in that
anything,
middle market where you get
yeah,
great income and you're
sitting
shooting
in
a lot
there
of
and being
weddings.
happy,
Yeah.
and maintaining it. And I think like that's kind of my plan for the next 10, 15 years is to just keep booked out at that and not let it dip, and
Yeah.
like push in other areas, like progress other things. But for now, at least, I'm happy with the price point, and I just want to maintain it. And if anything, because I like to do the educational side, and I like to be kind of vocal in the industry and with my YouTube and stuff. Um, I feel like a responsibility to be a spokesperson for that as
Yeah.
well, you know, because I've spoke to people privately that are like, oh, it's great to know that you are happy with that, because every time I go online, I just think I'm not charging enough. So to hear someone else who's charging the same and is quite happy to stay there and is still like successful, sort of, yeah, I feel like there needs to be a voice for that. So I'm happy to do that.
Because I wonder if, like, when if someone's advertising their course, it's always a case of take my course and earn 100 grand a year. It's never like kind of take my course and tickle VAT, tickle the VAT threshold,
Yeah,
stay nice and steady.
yeah,
Get
yeah.
good income. It's secure. But that's the beauty of this industry. We can create our business around how we want to live. And
Mm.
me and you are in similar boats with young families. Where does Jade work? Does your partner Jade work?
So she actually does weddings as well. She did have she had a previous career that she got kind of burnt out with. So I was like, oh, just muck in with me, and then she took an interest in doing the videography. So she now actually like films her own weddings,
Oh
and she's got
wow!
like her own business and stuff. So she doesn't do too many, but she does a few, and I would like she's second shot for me and help each other out and stuff. But she takes on her own gigs now.
So did you train her up, or did she get training elsewhere?
Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I showed her the ropes, and it was quite funny because we did like she came on a couple of my weddings, and I kind of showed her how to use the cameras and stuff, and um gave her a few examples of different styles that like whatever you think. Like I showed her how I do it, and then after about two or three weddings with me, she's like, I think our styles are different. I think I'm going to go out on my own.
Artistic differences.
I was like, you've second shot two weddings with me, and we're having a clash of styles, are we? Okay.
And
So
is her style significantly different to yours?
yeah, do you know what's and this was interesting to me is that yes, it is. It's I'd say it's more effeminate, but she's a female. Like it is more gentle
Yeah.
and feminine, and the
So
music
better,
like she has.
basically.
When I think I gave her one of my like wedding footage, just all my raw footage of her wedding once to play with when she was still learning. She was like, "Oh, you're not very good, eh? All your footage is dead, it's dead shaky." And like once she'd done a few of her own, she was like, "Your footage is really bad." And yeah, she'd like, yeah, it is. I mean, it's great, and it's they say never to work with your partner, but
Yeah.
because like I'll sit there editing, she go, "Oh, you're going to use that song, are you?" I'm not.
Oh no.
So yeah, we don't take criticism, or we like to share our opinions with each other, but we don't. Neither of us take it very well. So it's worked well that we do the same thing, but we're separate.
Separate,
So I think
right? Oh
we'd end
man.
up falling out otherwise. But yeah, it was. She's got just a more feminine touch on it, I guess, and
Yeah.
it shows in the music choices and like, how she approaches the day and stuff, which is dead interesting, I think.
Absolutely, and because majority of the time, I'd say 80% of the time, my communication with my couples is via the bride, and
Mm.
it's very much kind of driven by the bride,
Hmm.
for the most part. So then it makes sense to have for the final product to have that kind of like female vision to a certain
Yeah.
extent, because I see it all the time, especially when I'm like judging Twitter and stuff. You can tell when it's a male videographer. There's certain things that blokes do that you'd never have like a female do, like low angles, for example, like low angled shots.
Yeah.
When they're trying to
Yeah.
get like these creative low angle shots, no bride wants to see themselves from that angle. No one
Yeah,
does.
you've got to kind of be conscious and Try and put
Yeah.
yourself in the shoes. This is why it's good. I like these perspectives because I'm like, right, okay, I know that now. Like, you know, okay, never include anyone in Spanx. Got that? I'll, you know,
Things that we just have no clue that are bad. Like, yeah,
just go over your head. But you do, you learn along the way, don't you? And
yeah,
I feel like I'm caught as in tune as I can be with that, the kind of feminine sensibility of it. I try to be anyway.
definitely. And I've learned by my wife's called Jade as well. Of course, another thing that we've got in common, mate. When I've always said like get her to watch my films one last time through, and she'd always like point things out. So I was learning from her telling me like, no, the bride won't like that. Like, and I'm like, yeah, but it's such a cool shot. But then she'll tell me why. And I'm like, oh, okay, and it makes sense.
Doesn't matter how visually like cool it is.
Exactly. Yeah.
That's not what they're gonna see.
Her hair's not right. Her dress is falling there. That'll annoy her. She won't like that. So all those things are now ingrained.
Do you know this? I mean, we're going off on one, but I sent a teaser recently from earlier in the summer, and I was like, they're gonna love this. And she came back and she was like, oh, it's great, but can you just a couple of changes? She sent me a few screenshots, and there was quite a few things, so I was a bit deflated. I was like, she's like picked out like half a dozen shots, and there was only 20 in the whole teaser sort of thing. And I was like, I don't understand. Like, that's a nice shot. That's a nice shot. Like, what am I doing wrong here? So I showed it to Jade, and she was like, oh, yeah. I mean, you can't send her that. You send, oh, yeah. I couldn't understand where she's going. Because I was like, am I missing something here? These are nice. And she's just like, she's not happy. I don't get it. I'm a bit sad about it. And she's like, well, I can understand if you've sent her though. Like, and it was things like a dress was hanging off and there was a strap underneath showing, and like her hair wasn't falling right, and or it had fallen out of place, and just stuff that Jade went, yep, no, I can see that. Yeah, no, she's not gonna like that. Yeah, and I was like, wow, I wouldn't have spotted that in a million. You're like, okay, I understand now.
But now it's part of your toolkit, your mental toolkit. So if you spot that on the day, you sort it out, don't you? Because that's all things I've learned. Yeah. But as long as we do learn, right? As long as we do pick up on this and kind of
yeah. Listen to anyone called Jade. Basically, it's the lesson I've took from this.
Too right, mate. Too right. We're going through a similar process at the minute where Jade's becoming more and more involved in my business, where she's been doing multicams for me for a while. She's now actually started taking on full edits as well. So it's been really interesting going through that process. So, but you guys are doing the whole two separate bit companies kind of thing, and that's
and there's crossover a bit because well, second shoot, she's second shoot for me, and I've shot for her and stuff, and we can,
she let you second shoot for her with your shaky footage.
Yeah, we all know that nobody uses the second shooter's footage. They're
just there for that groom reaction in the ceremony. We all know it.
You're just there to make up numbers to look the part, and occasionally I get approved, but it's nice to just be in the same world and being able to discuss things and like vent about stuff, and and it's again goes back to like she hated her job, and this is a nice life. Like, just take it easy. And we've got the two kids. I do the majority of the weddings and the editing, and she just takes a few on that she can manage whilst having more of the childcare.
Yeah.
So she's not quite as like I love to work and I love the business and the kind of business building and the entrepreneurial side of it and stuff. So I'm quite happy just working all the hours, whereas she's not quite as driven that way. So she's happy just ticking along, doing a few, having the kids.
Yeah. But as priorities change, as like kind of timetables with the kids change and stuff, that can
it'll change.
Develop, can't it? Yeah. And it's worth touching on this actually, because there's another thing I noticed about with the Twitter, a lot of the Twitter entries. So many of them, when it came to like the category asking about the kind of how they learnt wedding filmmaking, so many credited you as inspiring with your YouTube course, your online course, and all the kind of other elements that you put out there. So there's this whole massive generation of filmmakers that you have helped create, because we know how awesome this job is, don't we? And the lifestyle it can provide, a job that we love, and it can be great money as well. But for you to be able to, you facilitated that for people. There's going to be so many people out there that will never miss a kid's play. because of the lifestyle they've now got that you've helped create for them. Do you feel
Yes.
that?
I do now. Yeah, I'm like getting choking up. No, because it's real. Having like when you've got kids, it's changes everything again. And like it was really cool to just be able to come into this world and have a job that you enjoy, good money, nice balance, like work from home and all that, work for yourself. But then once you have kids, then you appreciate it even more because like most of my mates go to work 9 to 5 and they miss
Yeah,
out on things and they miss out on like with the kids being the age they are, like my son Kami is going through his first, he's crawling and he's climbing and his first steps and all that, and I won't miss any of it, and I didn't for my daughter, and it's because I'm at home,
yeah,
and like, you can kind of take it for granted a little bit once when you're used to it, but then every now and again I'll speak to some of my other mates that are like, oh yeah, like I'm not, can't wait to see my kids at the weekend because I've not seen them all week. I'm like, wow, that's, I'm so lucky. Um, so then, yeah, it is. I mean, obviously, this I've put stuff online and it's there for the taking, but it takes, it takes someone with the initiative to go, well, I'm going to take that information, I'm going to apply it, I'm going to put in the work and,
yeah,
do it themselves. But to just have any kind of small part in helping someone, like you say, like, and I've had people credit me with this themselves, like I've completely changed my life, and it's changed my partner's life and my kid's life because I'm now doing weddings and I'm full time and I'm happier, and it's like it's crazy that people are like, "Thank you so much, you've changed my life." I'm like, well, I haven't,
but
but like that, thank you. It's really, and it is, yeah, it's amazing, and I really enjoy that side of the business as well. Just like having that kind of the community, like videography, educational side of it,
yeah,
as well as like looking after my couples. I like help being part of the videography community and helping people, and it's wild, but it is really fulfilling and humbling and. Um,
yeah.
yeah, it's so touching. Yeah, but I find it hard to take the compliment because,
Because you're
yeah,
British.
yeah, I know.
Take it, Adam, take it. And
But you're the same. Like everything you're doing now with Coda and all this. Like I massively benefited from the Coda, and my weddings benefited in the weeks that followed. But just being able to come to the do and meet up with other people and chat with like your peers was so long overdue, and
yeah.
like that's all down to you and that like
Oh, thanks, man.
so
That it was going to happen. Whatever, someone was going to make it happen, weren't they? Because we were just
yeah,
bubbling there. We are all waiting to get together, and I think, and there's going to
yeah,
be all sorts of different meetups that are going to happen throughout the next year or so, and all for it. Let's get more of these events going, right? And that's worth talking
100%.
about because we've got that wedding videographer podcast summit, and you'll be speaking there, won't you?
April 1st of April, which is terrifying, and it's something I've been aspiring to. It's on my bucket list for a long time to be able to speak at an event. So I'm really grateful to the lads for asking us. But yeah, it's dead exciting, and there seems to be a lot of buzz about it. And Matt Johnson's going,
I know, right?
who's like, so yeah, and I've spoke to him because obviously he's on the lineup. So I don't know how much I can say or give away, but I mean I don't know much about it other than it's just been announced and it's exciting and the
Yeah.
lineup's there and stuff. But we're in a group chat basically, and
You're in a
Matt was
group
like,
chat with Matt Johnson.
yeah, Matt was like, hey everyone, like looking forward to meeting you. He's like, and he was just straight in. He was like, Adam, it's so good to like be able to finally meet you, like after years of like knowing you online. I was like, oh my God, he knows me. Because he was a big inspiration YouTube wise when I
Yeah.
started the behind the scenes and stuff. So yeah, it was massive. I did a wed. This is a bit of a plug again, but I did a wedding recently that Ed Sheeran was a guest at.
Oh wow.
Um, so that, and it was really. I came home the next day. I was like, oh my God, I've just met Ed Sheeran. It was really cool.
Did you chat to
Um,
him?
yeah. He's just a really nice guy.
I knew it. I knew he would be. I bet he's so chill.
It's just that sound and like how he comes across. Yeah. And he's involved with Ipswich, isn't he? So he had the game on his phone, and there's a big crowd of them watching the game with him, and you could just tell everyone was like, "I'm watching the footy with Ed Sheeran." This, so I was like filming it all. Anyway, the point to this story is that it was really cool to then to meet a celebrity of that kind of stature, but I got more excited about the fact that I'm going to meet Matt Johnson. So that to me was a bigger like, and I've been desperate to tell people, but nobody in my other life has a clue what I'm on about. So
Only our round where Matt Johnson is a bigger deal than Ed Sheeran, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Hi guys, just a quick break from the episode to tell you about some filmmaking products I've developed. The first are Rudogs. These are custom-made wind noise reducers designed for the Sony TX650 and 660 microphones. Rudogs not only help reduce wind noise and heavy breathing sounds, they also make the TXs look a little bit more like microphones and less like vapes. Here's a very unscientific demonstration of their effectiveness. For this test I held 2 TXs at my office fan at the same time, one with a Rudog on and one without. This is the recording without a Rudog. And this is the one with a Rudog. Without and with. The other product is the Yeti strap. This is a storage solution that can fit up to 6 Sony TXs and it has a Velcro backing so it can be attached to the inside of most camera bags. It helps keep all your TXs together and stops them getting scratched. All these products are available from my shop, ru-films.com/shop, or follow the link in the description of the podcast. Now back to the episode. But let's touch on YouTube, because so you started. What I love about you as a human is that you're a doer. You make things happen, and because you started creating a YouTube channel is something that a lot of people talking about, and moving into education is something that a lot of people talk about, but rarely actually do make those steps. But you took your steps into YouTube quite early on, didn't you, in your career, and started putting content out there early doors, and grew a great kind of fan base. Is that the right word? Subscribers? Yeah, let's go with fan base. Yeah. So talk us through that, because I think I've heard you say it before that when you first started doing the content, it wasn't a case of, oh, I'm the master at this, let me show you how to do it. It's almost a case of, I'm learning this, let's go on this journey together, kind of thing.
Yeah, which I think is the right approach to have with it.
Yeah.
By the way, because I'm definitely not a master at all, but certainly back then I wasn't. And it was just, this is kind of what I'm picking up from various places along the way. You know, I've learned this. Some of it I've learned from others. Some of it I've picked up, and just these are kind of my takes on stuff that I've learned, and this is the results. And if you can get anything out of that, great. And like, what does everyone else think? Sort of thing. So
yeah.
And I think that made for a real nice kind of community element to it, because people were watching I did plug the hell out of them. I was in Facebook groups going, check out my latest YouTube video. I've just dropped it on a channel. Go and like and subscribe, and doing all that crap. But people were commenting and going, oh yeah, that's I'm going to try that. My next one, that's really cool. And then they'd feedback, and it's like, yeah, it does work. That's good. And then and then obviously some people disagree, and you can have that. But I think obviously because I think I'd started it when I was about 18 months into my business.
Yeah.
So I was still pretty new. But I just thought it'd be good to document like my journey and what I was learning along the way. So I think having that approach to it kind of helps with the engagement and the community of it, because people like can go, oh yeah, I'm in the same boat and I'm doing this as well, rather than this is what you should do. It's a different sort of conversation, isn't it? Do you know what I mean?
It's more, it was very relatable content, and that's something I'm super keen on, and things that I want to put out. It's kind of, it's relatable and actionable, so people can see it. They're living in that same kind of world, because a lot of the education we see out there is people shooting luxury weddings. You're thinking, well, how are you going to grab one of those when you've just started your business in Stoke? Yes. You know what I mean?
Well, try doing it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke. So certainly when I started doing it, there wasn't as much, and in the UK there wasn't much online education stuff. And when I started doing my YouTube, it was Wedding Film School and Matt Johnson and people like that in the States, and the behind the scenes videos. There wasn't really anyone in the UK doing it on YouTube. And there was like paid mentorships, but nothing like kind of online free content and podcasts and things like there's a wealth of now, which is brilliant for people starting out. So there was a bit of that of like, I want to, like, someone needs to do it, so I might as well. Like, I'll give it a
Yeah.
go. Um, and also I like the whole tangible, actionable. Like the I've been on workshops when I'd started various workshops of, and there's people coming to do talks from like all over Europe and like really kind of inspirational, like, oh, we are artists and this is our vision, and really like kind of inspirational, motivational like films, but nothing that I could kind of come away and go, yeah, but I still don't know how they do it. Like,
Yeah.
it was like, oh, this is just our vision, and we've got to like be ourselves and tell our story and all this arty stuff that doesn't really resonate with me because I'm a bit more practical and businessy. So
Yeah.
on my YouTube, certainly the early videos were like, well, this is the setting that I tried on my TX 650, and that I found that to be the best one. So you do that. Or if you stand in this position in a certain point of the day and you put a champagne glass in front of your camera, it'll get this shot. And like stuff that you can actually do, like practical stuff. And that's kind of what I relate to, and that was the content I was putting out. So again, like, there's people that have really related to it and I've become like good friends with and chatted to online and stuff, and they've followed me for years, and then there's other people that have completely slagged it off and go, you don't know what you're talking about, and that's totally
That's
cool as
good as
well.
well, right? Fine.
Yeah, so because I know like my approach isn't for everyone, but I believe in it and stuff. So
Yeah, and it cause, like you say, there was nothing out there for the UK market, and I found it. Talking to Matt Johnson again, I remember watching one of his films where he did a behind the scenes where he shot a wedding in Ireland, and it was. I just loved the point where he was trying to look for the sound desk to get into the sound desk and just couldn't find one, and I was like, "This is what we have to deal with over here." Finally, an American that gets us, because whenever my behind the scenes, people are like, "Why don't you just take a feed from the desk?" Like, sometimes you just can't. 90%
yeah,
of the times
yeah,
you just can't.
you
It
know,
doesn't exist. The desk doesn't exist. We don't
they're
have a
not happening.
DJ doing it for
Yeah.
us.
Yeah, I've been really slack with it actually, and this would be a good call to action because when we had kids, like the YouTube was the first thing that dropped off my plate because I just couldn't keep up with it.
Yeah,
And I've continually felt bad every year. I'm like, I'm gonna get back into it this year, and I've just never found the time. But I've shot some behind the scenes weddings this year, so I've got
will we
three.
see more? We're going to see more. What, from
Yeah,
this
yeah. So
season just gone? From this wedding
yeah,
season just
so
gone?
I've been saying it for years now, but I really want to bring the YouTube content back regularly, and I'm going to
Yeah,
start putting it on Instagram more now as well, because that's kind of the place as well, isn't it? So, I was for 4 or 5 years, I was like every week Friday YouTube upload something, talking about something wedding related. There's loads of back catalogue on there, but it's all old now, and I've just
yeah.
never really got back into it, and I need to. I came to Coda and I'm like, no one's gonna know who I am anymore. But there was plenty of people like, oh, Adam, it's good to meet you. I was like, oh, I thought I'd have been like way forgotten about by now. But
No chance, mate. Because there's still new people are still picking up those videos.
yeah, so
Like,
they're still
that's
there.
the
That's the
thing.
thing. They are.
Yeah,
I feel like I've not done anything for ages, but they are still there. If you search for them, they still pop up. So,
yeah.
but yes, I've done 3 this year. So I've got 3 behind the scenes videos that are just waiting to get. I've started editing the first one, just not got around to finishing it yet. So they'll be going up at some point, and actually they reflect where I'm at now, and kind of. So yeah, I'm excited to put them out.
With the YouTube channel, how many subscribers have you got now?
It's about 5,500, which it's been at for 2, 3 years. Like, it really
Yeah,
just drops off a cliff when I stopped uploading. It was
yeah.
steady growth, steady growth, steady growth, and then it's just fizzled. So, but yeah, 5,500, which I was
Have
pretty
you
proud of.
monetized it now?
There's the ads. I mean, you don't get much at all, but
No.
I've got the ads on there, and really the monetization for me was the course, because it's that audience that I've then
Yeah, push the
sold the
course to.
course to, or a percentage of, which I knew, that was kind of what I was aiming to do. It's a small sort of audience, but it's really well engaged with, and which I quite
Yeah,
liked. I knew if I'd have played the game of YouTube, I'd have built bigger subscriberships
yeah.
quicker. But I quite liked just people finding me organically, because it meant that they were searching for what I was doing.
Yeah, and it's so niche, isn't it? So niche, but really engaged, and like that's so it's a
This is
great
it. The kind of
audience.
people that are searching for it actually are interested, and
Yeah,
the retention's better then. So it's less people, but you get in a bigger percentage of those people, sort of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Going on to then your behind the scenes that you're going to release, how has your approach changed from those original behind the scenes videos? And has it
Ooh.
changed much, or is it very similar?
Not well. It'd be interesting to see actually once I've put them out and looked at
Yeah.
them side by side, and people might be able to do that and see that because it's
Are
been
you
so
not aware of much
incremental.
then?
It's been so incremental for me over the years that it doesn't feel like much. But then when you compare them side by side, it probably will be.
So gear wise, cameras, what are you using now? Because before it used
Uh,
to be the old A7s, wasn't it? And
it was the A7S2. I've had the
yeah.
two since I started, and so now I'm the three for my main camera. My lens is a 55 mm Zeiss f1.8, which is different to my earlier stuff, which was always 85, I think. I
But your
did
last
switch to
few were
55 at some
55
point.
though, weren't
With
they?
it, right? Okay, so that's
Yeah.
the same. Like, I'm not really a gearhead. I'm quite tight, so it's like if it ain't broke,
Yeah.
I've had the same kit forever. So I've got the TX6 50s and 60s, which is the only change there has been I've gone to the 60s from the 50s, and then I've got the A7S3 with the 55 on it. I've got an A7 IV with a 24 mm on it.
Still the
So there's just
Samyang.
yeah, still that Samyang. I'm actually looking at getting a 35 mm Zeiss instead of that 24,
Yeah.
um, just to go a bit tighter. And I think, like the 35, just a nicer. So I'm in two minds. I might try and test that soon. But for the most part, that just again it's always worked. So I'm not interested in like testing it or changing it. Um, so I've got the two cameras, wide and a relatively tight 55. Is my preferred focal length. I'd happily go out with two 55s, but sometimes you just need a wider, don't you?
Yeah.
Um,
Would you not
and
consider
then
a
yeah,
zoom then for that second camera, like a 24, that
I've got a
24 to 70?
24 to 70 like f4 kit lens that I've had forever that I
Yeah.
sometimes whip out. Yeah, but it's just because the zoom lens is like this and the 24 Samyang's tiny. I just like the kind of form factor of it. So I've been doing it that long. I don't even think about it. Like just it's just there.
So
Um,
two cameras the entire time. So,
mm.
because yeah, that's what blew my mind about your behind the scenes. Because
So what are you three?
yeah, but and so quite often I get away with the two angles, I think. But there's been those times where I've absolutely 100% needed a third angle. It wasn't for whatever, a registrar stepping in the way or a
Yeah,
photographer in the back or something.
yeah,
So how
yeah.
do you how what's your setup for a ceremony in general, like a standard civil ceremony, for example?
So generally, and this has been always it's on the new behind the scenes. This is on the old ones. I've got a tripod. I've got my 24 mm on the B cam, which is the A7 IV, on a tripod, just at the back, down the middle, preferably like
Yeah,
just wide angles. Got the whole ceremony from the back down the center. Um, and obviously, like sometimes if the bride's got to walk through the middle, like I'll have to put it off to the side and then hopefully can move it back into the middle once she's come in. Because if I've got the option, I'd always have it dead center, and then I'll be at the front, off to the right, so that you kind of focused on the bride with the 55 mm on a monopod. And that's always it's always like that, churches and civils. And if I can get to both sides, bride and groom at the front, I will.
yeah. So
Um,
you'll move across physically to film like the groom when he starts doing his vows or whatever.
Yeah, I don't in churches really.
Mm.
Very rare because I try not to like be a bit more conspicuous. But if it's like an outdoor ceremony or massive venue or something, and there's loads of room to do that, then I will in between the vows and stuff. But I'm equally happy at the back on the wide and the tight, and just have one wide, one tight.
Yeah.
Because when they turn side on, it's really that's a
And that's
nice
the only
image
good
that.
bit in the church ceremony anyway, isn't it? All the rest of it is just and it's, even from the back, it's just back of heads. Nothing interesting is
Yeah,
getting
and
said
it's
anyway.
just it's just like the hymns and stuff, and they're probably not interested in watching that, to be honest. So,
No.
um, but yeah, so it's always the two cameras, and I've never really had an issue where someone's blocked it, and I communicate with the photographer and stuff like that. You kind of try and mitigate those things.
You're luckier than me then with how it's played out for you. I can tell you because I've had three cameras all the time, and sometimes I've had all three of those angles be blocked. So speeches then, like this is what would concern me with speeches with that setup. So I'm assuming you're 24, you set up as a nice wide safety shot of the
Same for the
entire kind of
speeches,
room.
yeah. Like I'll have if it's again at the back, down the middle, wide. So you've got the top table like the Last Supper, and you've got all the guests in front of him. Like that's a nice wide if possible. But I quite like to put my wide angle at the side of the top table, kind of facing back towards the guests, but also getting
Right.
in the top table. So it's like a sort of angle, if that makes
Yeah.
sense.
So you got guests' reactions and kind of speakers in the
So you
corner
can
of the
see this
frame.
top table from the side on like the right hand side of your frame, for
Yeah.
example, and then it's got all the rest of the room as well. So you
Yeah.
kind of it's almost like you're viewing it from the position of the person at the end of the top far end of the top table, sort of thing.
Yeah. Would you be in that
Um,
shot though, as the on your other angle?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can sometimes avoid it because it's hard to like say it. It's hard to demonstrate on a podcast, isn't it? But like,
Paint
I'll
a
have my
picture with words,
tripod.
Adam.
I'll have my tripod to the side of the top table, to what like the let's say the right hand side,
Yeah.
um, to show the top table and back at the guests as well. And then I'll be like behind that with my slightly point back into the room towards the top table on the tight one, and I've got the speaker can kind
Yeah.
of from the side, so I can avoid it that way because they're both like kind of crisscrossing each other, and I'm behind both of them.
I'm with you. Yeah.
But yeah, if I'm in my wide cam, I'm not asked.
So,
That's
but
fine.
your tighter angle, are you just looking with that shot to kind of isolate the speaker, or are you also trying to get the kind of couple in frame as well for their kind of reactions?
Yeah, generally I'll. I mean, I'm sometimes I isolate them, but it's nicer if I can get the bride and groom in, or like if it's the groom doing his speech, have both of them in.
Yeah.
Because I've not got that tight reaction camera. I prioritize the kind of wide angle just because it's a nice safety and it's nice to get like a couple of tables of people reacting every now and again.
Yeah.
Um, if I've on the odd occasion got a second shooter, I'll get them to focus on like the bride and groom reaction close up, and that would be my preferred third angle. But I'm not too precious about that. Again, it comes like you think, that really pretty like through the candles, bright close up bride reaction, tearing up to what Dad's saying, like
Yeah.
that's stunning, and you want that for your film. But again, it's like, does the bride really care about seeing that?
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't.
It's interesting that those thoughts are going through my mind right now from our previous conversation. It's like you say, you're getting the guest reactions in. I think I'd like to see how the guests were reacting to what was being said at certain times,
Yeah.
to
And you
rather
could
than
fly
myself
around with
reacting.
you could fly around with getting B-roll of like key guests and stuff, but then I couldn't do that. That'd be crazy.
I've tried, yeah. I'm always one step behind when I try
It's
and do
hard,
it.
isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah,
Even when I've like second shot and someone's asked me to do that, I'm like, you kind of try and anticipate, and then you miss it. So you see something else happening, you go to, and you may end up missing both of them, and you're like,
yeah.
this is hard.
Oh, exactly. Yeah, 'cause especially you don't know who the people are. You're just guessing, aren't you? Like, yeah,
Yeah. And they go,
absolutely.
oh, Auntie Sheila, and you're like, where is she? Quick.
Show your face, Sheila. Cool.
Um, so yeah, and I try not to. I mean, I try and be inconspicuous at those times as well. So I don't want to be like
Yeah,
running around too much. But the BTS, the one of the later ones that I've put out, the B cam in the ceremony in a church is, I've like put it on a little sink basin thing at the back of the
yeah.
church,
The font.
on just
Yeah,
like a little just a little claw foot tripody thing. I don't know what they're called, like a tiny little tripod that's like
yeah.
this big, just feet. And I've just it was just a good height, so I've just put my little B cam on there and just balanced it on there. And I was like, this is gonna look so cool on the BTS because it's just such a lazy setup. I've just stuck it on there like this is like part of my USP, like simple videography. Stick it on there on the thing, and yeah, and it's just a clean down the aisle shot. It's got everything, and it was like I didn't have to set up a tripod or anything. It was great.
That's what I loved so much about your content. It was so relatable, but it felt within my grasp as well. Kind of like whenever I was shooting weddings, like because I moved off, obviously I was a photographer before, and I moved over to video. And there's all these things when you're taking that step. There's all this new stuff you got
There's
to
loads
think
to think
about.
about. Yeah, of
Yeah,
course.
but your approach on it, and you watch you on a wedding day, and you're so calm, and it's like I don't know. It was kind of inspiring. You're like, so it can
Yeah.
be enjoyable. It can be like, and
I
that's how I
tried to.
find
I
myself on a
mean,
wedding day now. But at the start,
yeah,
I didn't feel
in my
like that.
head, I'm often like a duck, a swan underwater sort of thing,
Yeah,
kicking my legs. But um, generally, I am that these days. I generally am that calm. It's all part of my service. Like obviously I want to film as much as possible, but my equal emphasis is on like my presence on the day and like the
Yeah.
experience of what I'm giving the guests and the couple. Like generally I do get that feedback like, oh, you were dead chilled. It was like you calmed me down, or you were just nice to have around, or and
Yeah.
that to me is like, if not more important than the video. So
I bet photographers love working with you as well because you've got such a low footprint, a small footprint on
yeah,
the day.
generally, yeah. I like, and I wouldn't want to get in their way, so it's nice to be able to do that. And not only does it make it easier for everyone, but I like, it gets nicer results as well. Like I don't have to break my back with loads of gear, and I don't have to stress too much, and
Yeah.
I can just be in the moment a bit as well.
Yeah. You know, emphasis becomes on creativity then. And also by limiting your options, yeah, I find myself now because I've got two, my B cam and C cam, I both got zooms on. So I've got kind of infinite possibilities that I can go for.
Yeah,
Sometimes I
yeah,
find myself so blinded by decision
yeah.
to actually simplify it would be, a massive benefit to me
You
creatively.
should do that.
Yeah, but I can't now. But now I've tasted it because, especially like ceremony, for example, I like to try and get that. I like to get the perfect kind of head, shoulders, vowels
Yeah,
reaction of both of them simultaneously. So you've got the person speaking and their reaction. So
yeah.
with my having my 55 on the bride and then my wide angle on the side, I can then tighten that up to a nice tight 55
Mm,
shot as well. And
yeah.
once you've tasted that, it's hard to go back. So don't taste it, Adam. Right?
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say like, no, I don't think I'd struggle with that. Because
Fair enough.
I'm far too. I don't want to use the word lazy, but it feels like it's a laziness thing. And like, no, this works. I'm not changing it.
You're way more uncomplicated than that, right? That's what we'll
Yeah,
go with.
yeah,
Uncomplicated.
yeah.
Hi guys, it's Rue here. Just briefly interrupting the episode to talk to you about one of our sponsors, Musicbed. Musicbed really is the best platform for licensing music for your wedding films. They have a huge database of amazing songs and brilliant search control so you can really hone in on the type of song that you need for your edit. Chatting to all these incredible filmmakers during the podcast, one of the repeated themes that I've noticed is that they're all using Musicbed to license their music. I myself have been using it for the last 6 years and really don't think there's anything else in the market that comes close. If you'd like to try Musicbed out for yourself, click the link in the description and you'll get a 14-day free trial where you can download and keep 3 songs to use in your projects, and you can see firsthand how good the music selection is. Now let's get back to the episode. One thing I wanted to talk to you about, Adam, is because there's a lot you've done for helping young videographers start in this career. If you had your time again now, what would be the first steps that you would take to get your business up and running?
Yeah. Well, I mean, I come back to this a lot because when you're having those moments of doubt, and I just think, well, if it all went Pete Tong, like and I had to start again, just drop my prices, I'd just go back out doing what I did at the start, and then just build it back up.
Yeah,
And I find I don't want to say it's easy because it does it a disservice. Because there's a lot of work that went in. Like I put a lot of work in, but I just and this is what we have in the course. It's like a blueprint that I found so straightforward, and it just worked. That I just like it feels really easy, but it's things like like entering the wedding industry awards, and networking, and like going to wedding venues and offering my services on like styled shoots and things like that I did at the start. So if someone was starting now, if I was starting again now, I'd just be going out trying to film for people. I'd be messaging around saying, you know, does anyone need any sort of promo footage or behind the scenes or styled shoots? So certainly with reels these days, like everyone wants content. Like I can offer it. I've got a camera, and like and be transparent. I'm learning, and do it for free. Yeah, like everyone kind of taboos. You should know your worth and never work for free. But I think most of us started out for free, right? Because it's just
yeah,
a way in the door. And it shouldn't be like looked down upon, because there's nothing wrong with doing a few free weddings or free shoots. The networking in particular, like obviously you could do free weddings and try and get wedding portfolio and hope that that will lead to like their friends booking you. But if you can do something for a venue or a supplier and it's genuine, like you connect someone that you really like the work of, that you genuinely feel like aligned with, because you don't want to like just suck arse and it be obviously that you're trying to kiss ass. Like it's got to be genuine.
Yeah.
But then when you do make those connections, like of course they're going to refer you because it's just they enjoy working with you and you get on and stuff. Like from a supplier point of view, if a couple ask me for a photographer recommendation, I'll give them someone who's solid because I don't want to recommend someone who can't give them like kind of good photos. But selfishly, I'm like, well, I'll recommend people that I like working with because we just get on and we have a laugh. I don't care like about the style of photography that they're delivering. I just know they're great people,
Yeah.
and they can deliver. So I think it would be going out trying to shoot content and the networking element, like getting in with suppliers and videographers as well. This is something that when you start, you just think, well, I'll pal up with photographers and other suppliers, but like videographers are my competition, sort of. You know, there's no point trying to make friends with a videographer because that's not going to get me anywhere. Whereas they're quite the opposite. Like
Oh yeah.
I've got a load of videographer friends who like you refer each other when you're booked and stuff. So, and it's when you're starting out, it's nice to meet other people along the same journey who you can kind of share experiences with and go and meet in a Starbucks and edit together and share ideas and stuff. And then as you grow in, like if they're booked, they can recommend you, and if you're and back and forth. So I've got loads of work out of having a good videography pool of mates that we kind of share work back and forth and stuff. This is a long answer, but finding someone to like be inspired by mentoring, like if you can do courses or education or a podcast to listen to, or like find the style that you like, and then just like invest in kind of emulating that or learning from them if possible. If there's someone that you like the look of that you can do a mentoring with, like that's gonna fast track everything. So yeah, I think that's what I'd do. But and I'll contradict myself because you should look online and try and learn from people, but it has to be the right people because I think there's plenty of people on Facebook that are very happy to give you their opinions and portray this air of confidence that like you need to do this. They don't have a freaking clue, like and it's just that everyone's got different perspectives and experiences. Like just because you're saying put your price up doesn't mean it's like the right advice for someone else who's in a completely different like point in the life or
Yeah.
whatever. So you've got to look for the kind of people to learn from and try and absorb everything they've got to learn. Like, I mean, it's like what you're doing. I would say that's a trusted. If anyone asks me like, where can I learn from someone who knows what they're talking about? Go and listen to the Coda podcast. But then you've also got to take stuff with a pinch of salt because you can see stuff online and like the whole, you just put your prices up.
Oh
If
yeah.
and there's someone who's kind of in that education space, if I'm allowed to say that, there's a real responsibility because people do genuinely like they followed me for a while. They like take what I've got to say, and they trust it. And I've built that. And there's a responsibility then, so that if someone comes to me and goes, "I'm thinking of like quitting my job. I hate it. I'd love to get in full time. What do you think?" If I go, "Yeah, go for it," I've got to be really careful with saying that because if they go for it and because I've told them to, and it wasn't the right time and they end up not getting enough work and then they've lost the job and they suddenly can't pay the bills, like that's them screwed. And it was so easy for me to go, yeah, go for it. But
Yeah.
you've got to be really careful. And there's so many people online that'll happily give out advice without kind of thinking about the consequences, I guess.
And everyone's circumstances are so different as well, aren't they?
Yeah,
And I think
100%, yeah.
we just keep coming back to
Circling
this.
back to this, yeah.
Yeah, you hear from certain people saying, quit your job. It depends what's going on. What is your partner earning money as well? Are you is it going to be just your income people are relying on? In that case, you have to be way more careful with it. And maybe you introduce the business slowly, become a weekend warrior. And there's so many different ways to do this. And it's
but
not
people
one
get
size fits
really
all.
inspired and really look up to certain figures, and so that's for the point where like they would trust what you're saying because they're like, well, they know what they're talking about. They're successful. Like I love this stuff. Like I'll listen to them. So you've just got to be, if you're in that position, you've got to be responsible. That was a really roundabout answer, but so if someone's starting out, do all of that.
No, but let's touch on the main bits you've said there. So networking is an incredible accelerator.
Oh, it's probably the biggest thing for me that I did. Yeah.
Same for me as well. And all the great stuff that has happened to me in my career has been because of other videographers. And I remember having a discussion with my father-in-law when I first started out on this, and when I was doing like sending work to people, and he was saying, why are you sending like work out to your competition? And I was like, they're not my competition, they're my mates.
Yeah.
And he could not get
any other industry, that's the mentality, isn't it?
And I was like, no. I was like, they were my friends, and I just like, if I can't do the wedding, why wouldn't I give it to them?
Yeah.
Like I wasn't even thinking of it as a benefit to me, but this stuff comes around, and then work's being sent to me, but also having allies, because it can be a lonely job eventually, can't it? This career, but having people that are going through the same circumstances as us, like having support, having a fake office in a certain extent, because I see them as like my work colleagues.
Yeah.
It just, I don't know, it helps lift you up. But then the other thing you said, mentoring. Now this, I think this is absolutely phenomenal. And I've seen it firsthand from one of our friends, Alistair King's. If you check out Alistair King's work, like I know it. Yeah, phenomenal, right? And he won, after his first year, he won his region Twier. But he was mentored by Dan Yates, who I've had on his podcast. And basically, by having a mentor, you get to skip those difficult first 3 years. They get those first 3 years where you're having to grind and learn by your own mistakes. You get all that knowledge gifted to you right from the start. So it allows you, whatever you're paying on mentoring. This is easy for me to say because like, I offer mentoring, but
and you can buy my course for $9.99.
Other mentors are available, but if you find someone who's their work aligns with how your vision, how you want to direct your business, getting mentored by them will allow you to raise your prices a lot quicker because they are accelerating your learning. And I'm not saying that we go to raise your prices, so we only have to shoot 10 a year. We're not going that, but get yourself to a reasonable level where you can create a sustainable business. You'll be skipping those steps by mentoring.
Yeah, and you're returning that investment then, aren't you, as well? Like much more than buying, like obviously at the start you got to buy kit, but like the amount of stuff I bought that I didn't need to buy.
Same.
I mean, mentoring generally is cheaper or similar to a cost of a lens or whatever, but it's infinitely more beneficial.
Yeah. I mean, we both did Phil White's course early on when we started out, didn't we?
Yeah, so that was I did a few at the start, but that was the one that really like flipped the switch, turned the light bulb on for me when I started. And I've probably not done Phil as much credit as I should publicly, like over the years, but like my business, the start of my business came from everything that he shares on his workshops, and I know there's so many of us that have kind of stemmed from him, and because he was the OG Yoda, so that was huge, and that was worth what, 500 quid I think I paid to go on his workshop, and I owe him 8 years of that threshold breaking income.
It's insane, isn't it? And I'm exactly the same.
I should buy him a couple of beers at the very least.
It'll be at Coda, mate. You can get it then.
Well, I seen him at the last one.
Yeah,
said hello. I've not seen him for a while. Yeah. So, but I'd like to think that he and people like him, like Jeff Wood was a big one at the start for me as well, and there's others locally that Stefan from YSD that I second shot for a lot when I started. I'd like to think that they know the kind of role that they have, in the same sense that I'm aware that I've helped people and stuff, and if they're anything like me, it's just nice to kind of help people. And obviously, I paid for it, so, and he put it out there. But the kind of gratitude, and when you actually think about how, like you say, it accelerated things and how much it's changed my life since, and it all stemmed from that.
Investing in education in any way is so worth it.
But it's a no-brainer, yeah.
Yeah. I think I went on his in-person course, which was like 500 quid, and I paid for the online course, which I think was like 300 quid at the time. So an £800 investment, which is
stupid bargain. Yeah.
Like the I don't know, just the money I saved by not buying gear from learning from him, it probably was worth it for that.
Yeah.
Because it was like such a simple, straightforward approach.
I did Richard Leng's one of Richard Leng's ones a few years ago, and that was a few hundred quid again. But I remember coming away from that, and then the next morning I booked a wedding. Um, yeah, playing one of his things, I booked a wedding at a higher price point than I normally would, and I was like, oh, like I got an inquiry. I was like, I think I've just done that yesterday. I'll do what he said, and I got the booking for like a grand more or something. So I was like straight on. I messaged him straight away. I was like, mate, I've just the money that I spent on your thing. I've just made it back. That,
Amazing.
thanks,
What
And
what was the tip?
um, it was so a lot of. I mean, I feel like Richard's really good on pricing. For anyone that like doesn't know, isn't familiar with him, Richard Leng, he's really practical and clever with his pricing and realistic and stuff and raising it. Um, and there was a lot of it was geared towards like the philosophy around pricing and like your relationship with money and what you think is expensive versus kind of what your prospective client thinks is expensive. You've got to get past that. And I think it was just there was a lot of general kind of philosophy on it. And
Yeah,
in the end, it was just like it was just try it. And it was in that example, it was just having the confidence to go, yeah, we'll charge more, just because he said like kind of giving you the permission to do it,
yeah,
you know. Um, so it wasn't like you say this certain line and it'll mean that you can charge more. I think it was just the whole day on the whole just made me go, yeah, I'll just go for it. And then because it worked, I was like, right, I'm gonna do it again next time and never look back, sort of thing.
yeah. Because you
Uh,
take three bookings at that price point, and by that point you forgot that you were ever anything less, don't you? That's how
yeah,
it
yeah.
works
And now you're like, "Oh, I
psychologically.
wouldn't get out of bed for that much. You're
Yeah.
joking.
There's a line that Richard Leng said once. Whenever I've heard him speak, it's just been knowledge bombs, just and light bulbs going off in my mind. But
Mm,
the one thing which I live by now is, he said he determines success by how in control you are of your free time. And that for me is just like the most perfect thing, because
yeah,
it doesn't matter how much you're earning, if you haven't got any spare time to spend that money,
yeah,
or
yeah,
you're missing out with seeing your family. But if you can create a business where you are in charge of your free time, you're not a slave to your business, you can spend time where you want with your family, and you're earning enough income to facilitate that. That is success.
yeah, yeah, 100%. Yeah, that's what we've talked about a lot as well already. So
Yeah,
that's
it all ties in.
yeah, the successful people aren't necessarily the ones charging the most, even though
No.
that outwardly looks that way. So this is the thing, going back to the mentorship, if you're starting out, is find the right ones, but just be aware that there could be a lot of like fake noise and just take stuff with a pinch of salt.
There's something I wanted to talk to you about. Earlier on this year, you ran a competition for couples to win their
Yeah.
wedding. Now,
Uh-huh.
what brought that on, and what was the kind of results of that from a business point of view?
Yeah, I think. Do you know what I think as well? Going into the after Christmas, there's going to be I'm already seeing a few people doing advertising for this year. I think it's becoming a thing.
Yeah,
There's going to be plenty of people doing it this year, and it is sound sort of marketing technique. So a friend of mine, like locally, did it years ago, and it was a guy I went to school with, and he wanted to get into wedding videography. So he messaged me, like we'd not spoken for years, and I,
slipping
we
into
had
your DMs like a pyramid scheme,
yeah,
Salah.
yeah. So no, we went for a coffee and like caught up, and I told him what I was up to and stuff, and gave him a bit of advice. And he was like, "Oh, I've got this idea for a competition. Like, what do you think?" I was like, and he spelled it out, and I was like, "That's really clever because you're going to offer like you're offering this out, people sharing it, it gets loads of engagement, loads of comments, and then you've got all that data of hundreds of people that however many people you can get to enter. They're giving you their wedding date and their location, and you can then go to each one of those comments and DM them and be like, thanks for entering. Like, just, good luck. And you're starting a conversation with them. Um, but so anyway, this was years ago. I was like, that's really clever. Because this guy at the time, he gave someone won it, but then he booked so many weddings off the back of it.
Mm.
And I was like, what a great thing to do if you're at the start of your business. And then I saw Greg Burnett do it last year. Um, and then I got him on our podcast because I was really curious as to how it all worked and what the results were. So I interviewed him, and like after a chat with him, I was sold. I was like, right, I'm doing it. I'm doing it because I thought at the time that maybe it's something really good to do at the start, but then once you get kind of like our price point, are people gonna be necessarily booking the people that enter a competition like that? Do they then want to be spending those kind of budgets? Is it for our kind of couples, or is it for, I don't want to say like, smaller budgets, but people that are entering a competition probably aren't paying for a videographer and are just hoping to win one because
Yeah.
they don't have the budget. So I was a bit like that mentality. But Greg Burnett, um, he had like loads of success with it, and he charges good money. So I was like, yeah, I'll give that a go. So it was this early this year. It was in February. It was like a Valentine's Day competition that I did. Um, and it just I got loads of like all my photographer friends, and again, I've got a good network of like supplier friends and followers, and everyone was sharing it like, oh, this is like, I was getting DMs from like, florists. "Oh, this is brilliant, like I'm gonna send this to all my couples because they should have a videographer, and like hopefully they can, so it kind of, the engagement's dead organic and easy to get, and the views and stuff. And I think I got hundreds of comments. And then someone won it, and then obviously you then gift a wedding package, which is really a really nice experience as well. To be able to, like, the winner was buzzing, and then when I
Yeah.
did the wedding, they were so grateful, and like it was such a nice day. And all the family were like, "Oh my God, that like we can't believe it. Thanks for being here," and that was really nice. Um, but then so for everyone that didn't win, once it had been drawn, I offered like 10% off discount. So I just literally had hundreds of comments as data, and I wrote them all down, went through all the dates I could do, and DM'd them all, and was like, you didn't win, but if you're interested, you want to like chat more or see some of my work, or there's 10% off, and I think I got 4 bookings. So like directly. There
Yeah.
might be more that then stem off from that have been indirect. I don't know. I didn't really, kind of lose track of it at that point
Yeah,
because
it's
then,
hard to
that
gauge for a certain
those,
point, isn't it?
yeah. But yeah, I think so. I got 4, but I mean, at my price point as well, I was obviously like I was happy with that because I've given away one and it's generated X amount of income. Um, so you've kind of got to figure out. Like if I was to say to you, you give away one wedding and it's going to guarantee you 10 bookings, you'd do it every
Yeah.
week, wouldn't you?
But if you could pay like, yeah, you paid three grand to get 10 bookings, like that's a good return on investment of
Yeah, so that's the
like
business
marketing.
model. You'd do it 5 times a year and you'd be rolling in it.
Yeah.
So or whatever, like everyone's got a number, but I think because I booked 4, I was like, is that enough to justify doing it? It was like, it worked out, and I've obviously it was well worth my time to then generate that. But I'd probably liked a couple more, I think, if I was
Yeah.
going to do it again. But it was dead interesting. Really, really found it interesting. And like if I was to do it again another time of year, or just, I could have posted it on any different sort of time or any different day, and it might have had completely different results, different people seeing it algorithm wise and stuff. So
Yeah.
yeah, it was worth a go. And I think there's going to be loads of people doing it this year.
Because I find it, because I'm obsessed with marketing and kind of the psychology behind marketing. So I find these competitions kind of really interesting because on the face of it, it makes complete sense to me because you run a competition that's going to get a lot of engagement. People are going to see your work. You give away one wedding, and then you have a whole database of people to target, like you said,
Yeah.
that they want your
And
services.
loads of new followers and stuff as well.
Yeah.
Because I retained quite a few of them. To be
Oh,
fair,
did you?
they didn't go back and unfollow.
Yeah.
So you just never know where they might pop back up again in the future.
But then I wonder what the psychology of it is like to your couples that have already booked. That then you're giving this product away for free, and
Hmm.
also, do you think it kind of, I don't know, does it lessen the brand, like the overall brand, the visuals of the optics of your brand, if you're then giving things away for free?
Yeah, yeah.
Did
That
you go
that
through?
was
Did this psychology go
you
through
go
your mind,
through
or
that.
am I overthinking?
No, no, yeah, I went through the exact thought process, and I don't really have an answer because I kind of ultimately decided to do it because
Yeah.
it was interesting, and I wanted to try. I wanted to see I wanted to experience it, and I'm glad I did it. Um, and I don't like I didn't have anyone message me going, oh, like I don't get it. I've paid full price.
Did you let your
Um,
couples? Did you enter your current couples into it as well? That had
so
already booked.
anyone who'd already booked me, who then saw it, I did get a few messages from like my existing upcoming couples that were like, "Oh, could is it okay for us to enter this?" I was like, "Yeah, sure." Because if you win it, I'll just refund your deposit and everything. Like,
Yeah,
um, and they were like, "Oh, that's amazing. That's cool." And I got people that booked. So out of those four bookings, I think two of them booked before the competition had even been drawn. And I was like, well, obviously, if you, because they were like, well, we just want you anyway. Like, if we win it,
yeah,
great. But I was like, yeah. So tell you what, book it in, pay the deposit, and then I'll give it you straight back if you win it. Um, so that was so like some of my existing couples that were up and coming were quite excited at the thought of being able to like get the deposit back and have it for free. So including them, I guess, kind of mitigated the disgruntledness.
yeah,
Um, but yeah, in terms of like, does it like cheapen my brand in people's eyes? I don't really know how I would have found an answer to that.
no,
So I don't actually know. I mean, it's it hasn't because I'm still going and I'm still fine.
yeah.
Um, but it might have put some people off. Yeah, you're right. I don't know.
And was it the competition to win their wedding in this year, in the same year you put the competition, or was it for next year?
No, just whenever.
Whenever.
I just opened it for whenever, and the one that won it happened to be this year, so I've already done it. Yeah,
Was it because you needed to get bookings in, or was it just a kind of general marketing exercise
yeah. I just
to get
thought
your name out there?
so this year's been weird. Like most people, I've had it weird with like inquiries and bookings and stuff. It started to pick up towards the end of the year, but certainly at January, February, at the start of this year, or this time last year, I felt like I was slower than I usually am. Um, so there was like an element of like, oh, it'd be good to just maybe try and kickstart something. I wasn't like desperate for bookings, but I just thought it
Yeah,
was a bit of both. I thought it'd be interesting exercise and, won't hurt because I am a bit lower than usual. So yeah, and I think if you are like struggling or not where you want to be, then it's worth a go.
yeah, yeah.
Uh,
And if you're starting out, I think it's phenomenal because when it came to a winner, was it just at random?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. It's
because
the
if
only fair way to do it. But the I had to stipulate that I was available for the date, so I had to like key in all the dates that I could actually do because there's no.
right,
Oh no, so it was a thing that automatically read all the comments and picked a winner. So I think if it had picked a winner that if it had picked a comment that I was unavailable for, I'd have just span it again. I think
yeah,
was the thing that I said because obviously I have to be available for the date.
yeah, yeah. Obviously, yeah. You cancelled two weddings, like you got to do a free one.
Yeah, sorry guys.
Yeah, yeah. But because if I was doing it right, if I was like starting out, and I think it's a great marketing exercise to do, but my approach would be that I would control who wins. Like if I was starting out, I'd want to make it a wedding that would suit my portfolio or what the kind of market I want to
Yeah,
target. And I think the Costa sisters did exactly that. One from my chat with them, they did a competition, but then they handpicked the winner based on the wedding they wanted to shoot, and it gave them and from a kind of morality point of view, is that I don't know, but it doesn't matter, does it? If that's
yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? But
it's just,
you do want it you want it to be worth your while.
but at the point where you are in your career, you're not dying for content. Oh, you got plenty of content anyway.
Yeah,
I guess.
exactly.
But
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
but if you
But
were doing it as someone just starting out, you want that wedding to be a portfolio piece, really.
this is a segue, but the Paul Mescal, the actor that's in the new Gladiator film,
Yeah,
I was watching a clip of him doing some press just like on Instagram the other day, and someone asked him like, "What's it like? Were you excited to work with Denzel Washington to like learn from him?" And he was like, "Well, yeah, obviously, yeah, but I couldn't think like that because I was there to do a job." And like we're colleagues and I was paid and I had a job to do. I didn't want to go into that wedding going, I can't wait to learn from Denzel today. Like I had to turn up and do my job. That's just a bonus. And I was like, just somewhere in my brain, I was like, oh, yeah, that's exactly like going to like a wedding where you're going to be working with like ex photographer who you know is big time on Instagram. And you're like, yes, I can't wait to like connect with them. And I'll have to make sure I get a selfie with it. Like, you're not there for that. You're not there to I mean, we got to promote ourselves, haven't we? But it just spoke to me that I was like, no, I'm there. I've been paid by a couple.
Yeah.
they come first. And if I can get content out of it, or I can, if it's a portfolio piece, great. Or if I meet a certain supplier that I can create a connection with, great. But I'm not there to try and chase that.
Yeah. The whole industry needs that kind of driven down their throat at the minute, I think, because I feel like all
Some suppliers are
suppliers are
guilty of
turned.
like, I've got to
Oh,
get my content, like
yeah.
forget the bride getting to the church on time.
Yeah, and we're clearly on the same page here. We're talking about
Without
makeup
mentioning
artists.
anyone in particular.
But it's because weddings are becoming content factories, and I find it really disappointing. And I think
Yeah,
on a personal level, I'm just horrendous on social media, as people probably know. Like I rarely post because
yeah,
it's
we're
just not
just
my.
grumpy old men, is what the
Yeah,
problem is.
exactly. It's just not my. It's just not my vibe, and it's not where I want to be spending my time.
Same.
But and I guess I don't know. Let's look from another perspective. We're there creating content all day. That's going to be banging content to put out there. I guess from a makeup point of view, you want to get that shot of that makeup, but it shouldn't be at the sacrifice. Your marketing material should not be at the
Yeah,
sacrifice of everything else that we need to put out
yeah,
there.
and I think some are good with that, and they know how to sort of gauge it and do
You
it in a
reckon?
way that doesn't interfere occasionally. But yeah, there's plenty that also don't. So
It's spreading throughout now. Like you're seeing, obviously, majority of photographers are now filming their own video content throughout the day as they go
mhm,
as well. It's kind of,
yeah,
and then I'm talking here as a person that's had a behind the scenes person follow me around at a wedding, but that's been pre-organized, and the couple have actually had benefited from that because I've upgraded their package or whatever. But
yeah.
we all need a bit of perspective on what we're there on the wedding to do. We've been paid to do a job and not build marketing material.
We're not there to learn from Denzel Washington.
Exactly. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
the quote. We'll leave it on that one. Adam, I've got the last question I want to ask you, and it's the question I do ask everybody. And it's, what were the biggest light bulb moments in your career so far when something suddenly made sense, and how did you progress or find the path that you wanted to take?
There's several examples that I'll touch on, but I've not really talked about it much. But my whole like philosophy from the start, and I've has always been like couple centric and experience centric, and not about I mean, my style. A lot of people probably know this, but my style's quite sort of discreet and minimal and relaxed, and I don't put much emphasis on like the art of the filmmaking and stuff. I just try and market myself, and like for me, the relationship with the couple and how I am on the day and how I communicate with them and stuff is like my priority. And then the film, if I can back it up with a nice film, then job done. Because don't get me wrong, I do love like filmmaking and movies and cinematography and stuff. And it's not very often I get to geek out about stuff like that, but I do really like it. Um, and every now and again I get sucked in. I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to do this really cool shot of this. But there's been several points in across the years that those light bulb moments where like the universe is clearly trying to tell me something, where the couple have had the film and not even noticed that thing that I spent hours trying to perfect, like 2 second little blink and you'll miss it thing that I'd seen on a film that I wanted to try and emulate and make as good as possible, and they just don't even care about that stuff. So like color grading, for example, there was a lesson I learned early on, when I spent ages learning color grading and color grading all my each clip of every film to the nth degree, and then I took the film round to the couple's house and handed them the USB because they only lived local, so I just drove it around, give them the USB, and they were like, "Oh, like brilliant." And he was he was like, "So what do I do with this? Can I stick it in my TV?" And I was like, "Oh well, let me have a look," and I helped him do it. And they were like, "Yes, stay. We'll put it on." So I ended up sitting and watching with him.
Oh man, I
Um,
don't know if I'd like that or not.
which is
You was
yeah, it's really cool experience, but really weird as well.
Yeah.
I've done it a few times, but it's a really weird one. But as soon as you put it in the TV, their color settings on their TV, whatever they had, was completely different to how I'd envisioned my color grade,
Yeah.
and they were just like, "Oh, it's amazing," they loved it, and I was like, and it looked dreadful, like in terms of what I'd tried to achieve with the color grading, and I wasn't an expert because I'd only just learnt it, but wanted it to have this certain, look to it. And it didn't look anything like that. I was like, oh God, it looks horrendous. They didn't see that. They just went, oh my God, it's amazing. It's our wedding. You know, I did Jade's auntie's wedding. So I filmed a wedding from my in-laws. And they had a really nice wedding. And obviously, because I know him, I was like, I'm really proud of this. I can't wait to show it him. And I was doing little things that I knew they'd like little touches that in my head, I was like, they'll really appreciate this. And I'd like accentuated a certain scene by doing some sort of technical thing that I thought was amazing. It took me ages. And we went round to theirs and watched it with them because they're family. And when it came up to that point in the film, and I was watching, and I turned around, I was watching their faces to see how they were gonna react. 'Cause I was like, they're gonna love this. And at that exact moment, her son like pulled her hair, and she turned away and like did sorted him out, and then turned back, and I was like, ah. I was
Rewind.
like, yeah, no, I was like, you missed it. And she was like, oh, do you want me to rewind? I was like, oh, no, 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 keep watching. Like, don't worry. I don't want you to, like, ruin the experience. Keep watching. So we got to the end and I was like, oh, we'll go back now. I'll show you because you're going to love this. And I played it through and she was like, yeah, no, it's great. Yeah, it's lovely that. And I was like, did you see what I did with oh, right, that. Yeah. Yeah, no, it's all lovely. We love it all. It's great. They didn't have a clue. Never bloody. And I was like, that took me fucking hours.
What was
It's
it?
just,
What specifically was it?
I can't remember. I think it was just I think it was like a sound bite or something that I'd included that I'd done loads of Foley audio that I'd like
Yeah.
recorded myself because I couldn't quite find something good enough to use. It was a piece of Foley of something that I'd gone out and recorded myself on a beach because I couldn't find anything online that I was happy with that I then put in that would then like add to, and they didn't care. They didn't
Yeah.
care. So there's just stuff like that over the years that kind of then reinforces like that. Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong. I really care about my making my films as good as they can be for the couple. Um, but my approach has always been like, I want the whole experience across the board to be like, my films are good and they like what they see online. They book me. From that point on, I just want the whole experience and their journey with me to be amazing. And just how I am on the day, like I don't want to add, I don't want to take away from the day. I want to solve problems rather than cause them. I don't want to, any kind of. And you speak to photographers and stuff that, oh, I worked with this videographer the other week and they were interrupting this or they were dead stressed and it made everything, and it's stuff like that. I'm like, right, I try not to do that. And if it means that I don't quite get that epic shot that I wanted, like it's not about that. It's more just like helping the day run smoothly and you get, how many times have you got to the end of a wedding and they've gone, oh my God, worth every penny. You've been amazing. Like, thank you so much. You've been great. And I'm like, you've not seen anything yet. You don't know.
Yeah.
But their opinion is up here of me. So then as long as I deliver a nice video, then it will still be up here. Like they'll just go, oh yeah, it's like we love it. It's got all our friends and family and like shoot it well, nice clean edit, deliver it. Um, and I mean, there's no right answer because there's plenty of other videographers that are like really into editing and like really polished films, and that's a great USP. And I think sometimes you can tell when that care has been put in. But just for my style, I know that as long as I do a clean film and it covers all the basics, and I've given them like the best experience, and we've really got on, then and like I say, all these little things of like they don't most people. I shot weddings for wedding videographers and other filmmakers and people in TV that you'd think like, oh, I do care about this stuff, but they still don't. They just want to see their
Mm.
friends and family. So I'm off. Again, this is the longest answer in the world, but the one thing I've not said in this conversation is how I got started, which was through my uncle, who's a wedding singer, who would probably hate me for not crediting him because I wouldn't be anywhere without him.
Howard Wing.
Howard Wing, yeah, because he's my business partner with the course and the podcast that we do. But when I started, he got me into the industry, and he's a singer, and his part of his marketing is he's promoting himself because he's a singer, and like he is his product. So all the advice I got from him when I started was you just Like you need to do, you know, be front facing, name yourself Adam Wing Films, and take selfies with the couple, and like show yourself online, and just be a really friendly, positive kind of presence, and market that. And then like, you know, as long as your films are good, kind of. So it's probably the opposite approach to what most videographers come into it thinking, like, oh, my films have got to be great. Whereas mine's not really been about that, and that's kind of been a USP for a long time. That person, like personal branding sort of thing. And it just like for me that really is key and is what most people value.
Yeah.
And it, you know, like as long as, like I say, your films have got to be good, but I just don't think they care as much about the technicalities as we do. And I think if I do anything on a wedding day to, I don't know, maybe I'm getting a bit stressed in the morning, I'm clock watching because, you know, I'm late for the church, or I'm rushing around trying to get like an extra camera set up or something. Um, anything negative that at the end of the day makes them go, yeah, yeah, no, he was great. Like it, like I want if their opinion of me is up here because I've been epic on the day, as long as the film's good, it's not going anywhere. Whereas if
Yeah.
like the opinion isn't up here, and then like doesn't matter how good the film is. If you like, let's say for example, worst case, like you do something to annoy your guests, or like, you know, just little things that add up, like wearing trainers and jeans, and or like you've had a beer on the pint on the day, or you've been on in the corner on your phone, and like if there's any sort of niggle of anything, they're gonna go, oh yeah, and it kind of then accentuates. Do you know what I mean? Like,
They're going to remember that when they watch the film back. That experience is
I
always
just
going to come
think it
back to
doesn't
them.
matter how good your film is, if your experience with them wasn't like as good as it can be, you let's say, like, for argument's sake, the worst case scenario, you do something, yeah, like you make a mistake, and their opinion, like, you piss them off, and their opinion's kind of down. It doesn't matter how good the film is, then it's never going to come back
Yeah.
to them loving you. I don't think. And then it's things that, like, little things, like I like to have a pint on a wedding, but then if anything went wrong, they'd be like, oh well, he did have a pint on the wedding.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they start to then pick part and find negatives in things. So I just think, like, so I went to a wedding earlier this year where the bridesmaid had got married and was 6 months prior, and I got chatting to her, and she was like, "Oh, can I ask you how long it takes to turn your films around? Because I've still not got mine. It's been like 6 months." And I was trying to be like, oh, I don't want to dig out the videographer here. I was like, you know, like,
Eight
just
months.
yeah, it's different for everyone, and you know, like, maybe just have you spoke to them, and maybe just message them and see where they're at and stuff. But you know, like, it's obviously it's a process and stuff. She was like, yeah, but how long do you take? And I was like, a couple of months, 2, 3 months. And she's like, all right, so yeah, I did think that was a long time, and actually they were like on the date. I was like, well, yeah, I'm sure it'd be great. And she, yeah, yeah, we've seen the work, but you know, there was a couple things, and you could just see the cogs going. Like, now that
Yeah.
they've waited that long, they're suddenly going back and picking apart and turning things into negatives that probably wouldn't have mattered before. Like, I think they mentioned, like, yeah, they did, like, they just turned up in like jeans and trainers, and like stuff that shouldn't really matter, that they were then turning into negatives,
Hmm.
and it's stuff like that. Does that make sense? Like, I just
Yeah,
think.
and but there's quite a few things that I kind of want to talk about with that as well. Because when you were saying that you were sorry, like, you stop making me interested, Adam. When you said about kind of putting yourself as the face of the brand, and what I think that
Yeah.
does, I think that works for your work in a couple of ways. You put yourself out there as a face, you end up then attracting couples that buy into you as a person,
Mm.
which you are instantly going to connect with because there's a buy-in to you as a person. So you are going to connect with them as well. But because you have that kind of connection, you then understand them, and you're going to understand what they want from their films more. And subconsciously, you're going to be able to create a better film for them because you're going to know what's important to them on the day.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so you're attracting like-minded people, which you are kind of pre-built to be able to make the perfect film for them. So that process is
Yeah.
just going to just
Yeah. No, you're
build
right.
into each
And
other.
you're right, because obviously, by the way, me doing it that way, and then attracting those people that's where their value is. So then it does, of course, it does kind of all
Yeah.
align. Yeah.
And the other thing was like, I've recently had a new TV put in my office, and when I finish my films, I always send them now to watch them on a normal TV with just normal speakers, because I know that's how my couples are going to be experiencing it. It's just to give me a gauge of what it's sounding like, so if I need to tweak anything. But all TVs fresh out the box have that weird setting on, don't they? Which I automatically turn off.
Yeah.
Was it like the motion? What, I can't think what it's called, but basically it makes everything look like it's a real high frame rate.
Tom Cruise was mad about it a while ago, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Is it interpolation or something it's called?
Yeah, but they've got each TV has it's got like a brand name for it, hasn't it? It's got a specific name for it, like motion. Yeah. I don't know, super motion or whatever. I don't know.
Sport mode or something, yeah.
Yeah, but every TV seems to have that turned on. So I played one of my films back on that, and I was like, oh my God, is this? I bet you majority of couples have got this mode turned on because it's the default. My films look horrendous like this, but I've never had anyone say, why have you shot this? Why have you shot this film at 100 frames a second and played at normal speed?
Yeah. I saw The Hobbit years ago when they released the Hobbit films.
Yeah.
I went to see the first Hobbit film in 50 frames a second, because not that I'm technically I didn't really understand it at the time, because this is way before videography life. I just knew that Peter Jackson wanted people to experience, that was his preferred vision for that film. And I love Lord of the Rings, so I was like, whatever he says, like if he says that this is the way to watch it, then I'll go and watch it that way. And I kind of read about it, and I was like, right, I think I know what that means. Okay, I'll go and watch it. And you could tell, like, all it felt like was I was watching actors through, like, I felt like I could see the actors on through a window rather than being lost in a movie. Felt like they were like, it was like a window and they were actually there, and because it didn't have that motion blur. But on the flip side, with the same mentality of like, if I delivered the wedding film in 50p and it feels like a window and it feels more real and less filmy, is that a good thing? Because then it kind of feels like more of a window back to their day. So
isn't that what the content creators are doing now?
Yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot to be learned from that. I feel like my chat with Mal, I was like, there's a lot of this that can be taken on board.
Yeah, I kind of like the home moviness as opposed to like polished film cinematicness.
Yeah.
Again, the kind of, I don't know if I've done a good job of explaining what I mean, but my focus has always been about the relationship with a couple and like just their opinion of me. And like I say, I've portrayed that, so I've attracted those sort of people. But as long as then the film is nice, then I'm always going to win. Whereas I think, if you focus on the film to the expense of the day sometimes, which you're all guilty of, like, it's easy to get wrapped up in, I need this shot. And like, sometimes when you're doing it, you're like, oh, I feel conscious, like the bride and groom aren't into this, but I've gone down the rabbit hole now. I've got to do it. And then just anything like that for me at the expense of their experience isn't worth doing, because ultimately they don't give a damn about the technicalities of it, and they just want to see their friends and family. And this was like Bronte's talk at Coda was like, just nailed it home again of like, this is what people care about. I liked her when she'd messaged all the couples. I think this is a great exercise to do. I've not done it yet, but message all your couples and just ask them what their favorite part of their wedding video is, because I bet the answers will be really interesting. When you look back at your film and go, oh yeah, that's the shot I was most happy with on that wedding, and their answer will be completely different.
I think it'd be very humbling for a lot of us, wouldn't it, to learn. And I think on the wedding day, that's one of the skills to learn. It's running that calculation in your mind with everything that you're doing. Like, what I'm trying to do here, what's the impact on the guest experience? What's the impact on the couple's experience? And weighing that against what it's going to be for the film and what it's going to be like for their experience of enjoying the film later down the years. Like, will they treasure this moment? Will it be well worth it? Or am I just ruining the experience of this moment for the couple, for the benefit that they won't feel the benefit of?
It's hard. There's nuance to it, because sometimes, like, to contradict everything I've just said, sometimes you can put them through something that they might not really want to do at that moment, but they're going to appreciate it afterwards, because you can kind of see, and that's where your artistic vision comes in, and they'll appreciate you for that, because you're giving them something that actually they'll look back and go, yeah, it was worth it. So you've got to kind of gauge it on a case by case.
But those moments are very few and far between, aren't they? Like, if I get you at the top of this mountain at sunset, it's going to look glorious, but then
Yeah.
what are they missing down at the wedding? That kind of,
Well,
you know what I mean?
exactly, yeah. And are you doing that? Are you doing that for? Like, if they
Yeah.
really want it, great. But if it's for you, then you probably shouldn't be doing it.
Yeah.
My edit at the minute, I'm kicking myself now, but I turned up to bride prep and I went to school with the bride. So I've not seen her for years. And I turned up and we just started chatting and I was stood there for ages. And I even said a couple of times, like, I'm supposed to have started filming. She's like, oh, don't worry, I'm not bothered about this. You're fine. Have a drink. So we just ended up, and now I'm kicking myself because there's no bride prep footage, but that was what she loved. Like when I left, it was like, oh, it's been great hanging out with you today and stuff. So I was like, well, I'll still make a nice film. And
But
I got permission to stand and chat. So,
but then the thing,
and
yeah,
my enjoyment on the day was massive. It was brilliant.
but also, but for her, that's because I imagine you sat there on the morning on the morning of your wedding day. I imagine it's quite stressful. A videographer turns up, starts filming you. It's like, let's be honest, bridal prep footage
Weird,
is 90% awful. Like, who wants to be filmed having makeup put on? It's bizarre. But for you to be there to chatting to her, that'll put her so much at ease to have a familiar face to be able to chat to be able to, reminisce about the past and not worry about what's happening right now. I bet that was worth way more to her than video footage of her having a hair done.
And that's something that that's how I justified it. It's like that's more important. And I always put so much in the past. I put so much emphasis on the morning prep because it sets the tone. You've got to make sure you cover it loads of footage so that you're going into the rest of the day knowing you've got it in the bank and stuff. But it's probably the least part they care about seeing.
Yeah. Definitely. I think our emphasis on that part of the morning should be on the relationship building and trust building with the couple. And
yeah,
just
and the bridal party and the guests as well, because they're building their opinion of you as well, aren't they, at that point, and that's going to impact the rest of the day.
Exactly. Adam, I want to thank you so much for your time, mate. And I want to thank you as well, publicly, for everything you've done for the wedding community.
Oh, don't start this again. I was crying the other week when you told me this.
We had this chat at Coda, but the wedding filmmaking community now, I think that we are all growing, and there's the foundations that have been put in there by like people like Phil White, yourself, and the fact that you've been putting out fantastic free content for so many years and giving people whole new careers. I mentioned it before, but like I said, people are not going to miss their kids' Christmas plays because of you, of what you have given people. So thank you so much, mate. Thank you so much for your time tonight. And tell us where people can find you, and also tell us where they can find your course.
Okay. Well, thank you for saying that. It's very kind, and I don't take it for granted. It's awesome, and it's right back at you. It's just great. I just love being part of this kind of industry. So it's just nice to be involved, and I'm happy to do it. But I'm at adamwingfilms.com, at adamwingfilms, all that sort of stuff. DM me for the course, because like on Instagram or whatever, because it's linked on my website, but under like an education tab or whatever, because I'm that kind of idiot. But it's called the Complete Wedding Film Business Course. It's a bit of a mouthful, and the URL is ridiculous. So just,
but I'll link it in the description of the show. But thank you so much for your time, mate, and I shall catch up with you soon, hopefully. And if not, I'll see you at Coda. Thank you so much for listening. If you have enjoyed this episode and wouldn't mind helping us out, please leave a rating and a review wherever you get your podcasts.